Hi everyone, and welcome to my masterclass on how to start teaching English online slash how to get paid to speak English. So yeah, my name is Wala. I'm an English teacher, but I'm also a teacher's coach. I assist individuals like you on how to start teaching English online and make an income out of it, get an income out of it. Okay, so the trick with teaching English online, and I always mention this, is you have to get into teaching English online with a business mindset. The problem is, all through our lives we're taught to, oh, get a job, oh, you must have a fixed salary. But when we ignore this, we are kind of limiting our income, earning potential. So I'm saying this from an experience point of view because this is what I do. I've been teaching on Preply for 3 years, and I'm also with a Polish school, but I can't really say I've been with it. I haven't been with it for long actually. I joined it recently, and but like yeah, mostly I'm on Preply and I teach independently. That's what I do. I don't really like working for a company. I like working my own hours. I love the flexibility that comes with, working on my own hours and setting, rules for myself. Okay, so when you want to start teaching English online, you want to have motivation. This is very important because you will find that you get a lot of bad reviews. You find that people will like discourage you. Like if you tell them I want to start teaching English online, they'll tell you you're a joke because they don't believe in it. Because recently I advertised on Facebook that I'm, teaching people free Zoom masterclass, and people were saying, no ways, how is that possible? The way everyone is, learning and getting all these qualifications, how is it possible to even, start teaching without qualifications? And it makes you realize like there's so much negativity out there. So if you want to build a business, even if it's got nothing to do with teaching or any other kind of business, you've got to be motivated because people will always tell you that no, that is not going to work. I'm talking from experience. I've had the same experience when I was teaching English. When I started, people did look down on me and people didn't really believe me, even up until now. But yeah, I know what I'm doing, and yeah, you just have to be your own motivator. Okay, so you also have to have a work-life balance, which is important if you're working from home and you're working in your, like your relaxing area. So it's important to have a work-life balance. Set a desk somewhere in your house just to have boundaries that this is work time and this is time for me to have fun. So flexibility comes when you're working independently and you're setting your own hours. I've mentioned that. And then productivity, you want to implement little rules, like for example, after you teach, if you're done with all your lessons for the day, you want to maybe plan the lessons for the next day so that when you wake up the next day you're not in a hurry, and yeah, everything is in order. So that's basically the main things. And then there's job retention and savings. So yeah, you can figure that out. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so just a few things to consider. I mentioned about being optimistic, being motivated. So be optimistic and have a positive mindset. So this is important again when you're teaching. So sometimes you'll have students, right? They will come to you, they have a trial lesson, but they don't book a lesson again. Okay? Positive mindset comes to play in the sense that it will calm you to realize that not every student who comes and has a trial lesson with you is going to book you. And it's not your problem. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not your personal problem. Like, you don't have to bother yourself about that. You're not going to click with every student who's going to come your way. So don't let that bother you. Okay? You just say thank you next, because it's normal. I also don't have like, I don't have all students coming to me and we get along. Sometimes it's not because I'm a bad teacher. Sometimes it's just because I'm not suitable for them, or like we just don't click energy wise, or there's so many reasons. So don't take things personal, just be optimistic. If a student comes and they don't book a lesson again, just take it as it's good for your profile, your statistics as well. So keep a positive mind for those bad days. Stay open-minded to possibilities and opportunities. So when you start teaching English online, I've mentioned this, it doesn't mean you're just going to be teaching on one platform. You can teach on two platforms at the same time. You just have to make sure you synchronize your calendar. So maybe you're doing 9 to 12 in the morning on another platform, and in the afternoon you're on a different platform, or you decide to teach. Maybe in the morning you're teaching, and then afternoon maybe you've got another, I don't know, side hustle or something that you're planning to pursue. So yeah, the flexibility that comes with teaching online is endless. In my example, I used to work for a property company, and I still work for it now. So if you see mostly on my calendars, Fridays I'm not available because I'll be working for that property company. But mainly my main source of income is teaching English online. Okay, I just wanted to stress that out. So there are so many income earning potentials. You can do this as a side hustle. So let's say, for example, you have a day job already. You can go to work in the during the day, and then just open maybe 1 or 2 hours in the evening. It depends. So you can teach at any time because you're appealing to different students in different countries. So you always find a student, even if you open your calendar at 12 midnight. I actually had a student, actually reminds me, I had a one-on-one coaching session with this other student, and she said to me, she had opened her calendar to the point where she had a student booking 12 midnight and 3 a.m. and so yeah, when you it just shows you that there will always be somebody to teach out there. You don't have to be bothered by the time zone. Okay, so be confident in yourself, believe in yourself, and don't be too nervous to start. So this is something that affects a lot of teachers before they start teaching. They feel like they're not capable, or they just feel nervous, of which it's normal to feel nervous. I felt nervous when I started teaching because I hadn't done it before. I was just all over the place. I was just heading where the wind took me when I was doing my research. But yeah, with time goes on, if it not with time goes on, you're just nervous before the meeting, before the lesson. But once you get in the classroom, it just goes away. I don't know, it just goes away. So the nervousness just comes from the fear of the unknown. But I would just advise you: the sooner you start, the better. The sooner you start, the better. Because if you take too long, you're procrastinating and you're just building on that nervousness. So I just suggest that you just start immediately if you want to start teaching English online. And then don't let anyone make you feel inferior without your consent. Don't let anyone make you feel like your English is not good enough. Don't let anyone tell you that if you get a TEFL certificate, a teacher record, it's not going to be good enough. Don't let anyone look down on you, guys. This is something that affects a lot of people. They have potential, they have ideas, but the implementation part of it is zero because we tend to listen to what is the other next person saying, but they don't have experience in this. So guys, just be your own person. Don't go around looking for validation from somebody. Even if you go on a website or whatever it is you're trying to do, if you go on a website and you see bad reviews, it doesn't mean just because one person had a bad experience, you are also going to get a bad experience. Like when I started teaching on Preply, there were so many bad reviews, but I was like, I am just going to apply. I want to see it for myself. But once I got in, things were working out for me, and I've been there for 3 years, and I love it there. I still love it there. So, guys, just be positive minded. I had to say this because this is the major reason why some people don't start teaching because they're scared. Sorry. So, yeah, let's just move on. Okay, now we go to the requirements. You need a laptop or a phone, and then you need data or Wi-Fi. So I need to emphasize on this: when you are applying to teach, if you don't have a laptop, it's compulsory for you to have a laptop. You have to be on Wi-Fi because they're going to test your Wi-Fi speed, and you're gonna have noise cancelling headsets. So this is compulsory. But when you start teaching, you can use your phone, you can use data, you can use your normal earphones. But when you're applying, you want to make sure you are at your best. So it's compulsory, the laptop data and noise cancelling headsets. So if you don't have this, you can go to apply to an internet cafe. Okay, if you don't have a laptop, go and apply. It's an internet cafe, but choose a space where the background would be like, you don't see people moving up and down behind you. So when you apply from an internet cafe, just get a space in a corner, or somewhere you can just shift the computer just a little bit so that when you do the background test, they don't see anything happening in the back. Yeah, so basically this is what's needed to start teaching. And then this is a very important aspect. When you're working from home, you're working in your area where you normally, your body is used to having fun in that area, having to relax. So you want to design your workspace. This helps you to, create a mindset of, okay, now it's time to work. So you need to have to design your workspace. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Just get like use like a normal table or whatever. Just put your laptop there, make it look nice. Please make sure it's clear, because your mind gets clear. If you're somebody who's visual like me, who need to see things on the walls, you can do like me, because I like to see things on the wall. But yeah, please just make sure you have a workspace. You create a corner. It doesn't have to be like an entire office. Just create a corner dedicated as your workspace. So this is people want to be working from the internet cafe. Like I said, if maybe let's say this is the scenario of the internet cafe, you want to take maybe this spot on the corner, and you just shift the laptop a little bit, the computer a little bit, and then your background will be the wall. Or you want to take these ones right at the back of the internet cafe. So also just make sure the cafe you pick is a little bit classy and a little bit quiet as well. Okay, so basically that's it. Now, the most frequently asked questions: what if I don't have a laptop? So I've already answered that. If you don't have a laptop, you can use your phone. How do I teach during load shedding? Okay, so I would use my phone. I would use my phone during load shedding. I'll just buy data. So, like I said, it's only most important to have Wi-Fi when you're applying, but after that, you can use your phone. Because even sometimes when you're having a lesson, you find that some students are actually on mobile. It will tell you that this student is using their phone. So, the only disadvantage when it comes to using your phone is you can't access a lot of things in the library. So when you're planning your lesson as well, it has to be in a way that you're not going to be needing to use the vocabulary or whatever. So I would suggest, if you are teaching from a phone and you have a lesson, you want to send the link of the lesson to the student before the lesson starts, so that you don't have to have back and forth. And if you want to communicate, or if the student wants to communicate with you, you can use messages. If it's on Preply, there's an app that you can use. So basically communicating via messages. And then, how many hours do I teach? So like I said, if you're working independent, you choose your own hours. You don't have anyone telling you when or when not to teach. Yeah, basically. So the other thing, if you probably have a laptop but you don't have Wi-Fi at home, you'd rather buy airtime, put it in your phone, and then you use your phone to hotspot your laptop. So that's another issue when it comes to teaching. So please, if you don't have Wi-Fi at home, it doesn't mean that you cannot teach. So now we go to the process. First thing, get a free TEFL certificate from Teacher Record or Allison. And then the good thing is that you can Google the answers on YouTube. Just type Teacher Record TEFL test answers and the answers will appear. I'm not sure about this, Allison, but I heard that you can actually get answers, because I'm normally on TikTok. I do live on TikTok, so I got like a community of people, so they just help each other responding to questions. So somebody suggested that, Allison, you can actually also get a free TEFL certificate. Okay, now the second thing, create a 1-minute introduction video of yourself. So this acts as an advert to make sure it's perfect. Yeah, sorry, acts as an advert, so make sure it's perfect. So introduction video is a marketing strategy. It's an advert. You know those adverts that you see on television when people are advertising a product? That's as good as an introduction video. Why am I saying this? Because let's say you have been accepted on a platform. The first thing that a student is going to go to is your video. They want to see you. They want to see your personality. Are you smiling? Are you bubbly? Are you active? And also, when you're doing a 1-minute video, please don't be a statue and just say, my name is, I am. You have to be like, use gestures, use your hands, smile, things like that. So the other thing to consider before doing your introduction video, you want to be sure who exactly do you want to teach and what exactly do you want to teach. So for example, if you're doing an introduction video for kids, it's different from when you're doing an introduction video for adults. So if you're doing for kids, a video for kids, your background has to be colorful. You've got to have like alphabets on the wall and everything like that. I don't have alphabets. I don't teach kids. But yeah, I'm just explaining, like, you've got to use puppets as well. Hi, are you happy? Are you happy? You know, that kind of thing. You've got to be that kind of active person if you're going to be teaching, when you're going to be teaching kids. So that's one thing. And also, if you want to be specific that you want to teach kids, then mention it in your introduction video. I only teach kids from the age of 8 to 13. Or if you're teaching adults, just say I teach adults, I teach business English to adults. So you don't really have to specify adults age, because I have had a student who was in their 70s. I've had a student who was in their 80s. Like they're old, you know, like they're old and they just want to have conversations with somebody, you know, because that's the other thing. So when you're teaching English, I should have actually mentioned this initially. When you're teaching English, it's not every time that you're going to be opening a book. When you're teaching English, some people just come to the platform because they want somebody to practice their English with. So you're basically having a conversation with them. You can just have a discussion or talk about tourist areas in their country or talk about tourist areas in your country, just random things. So that's the interesting part when you're doing conversational English. And then if you're doing business English, you now maybe appealing to maybe a student who is studying what you have studied, or somebody working in the same industry that you have been in. So that's another thing that's good about teaching English. So it's not all the time that you have to open a book and start teaching. No. Okay, so the third thing, apply on Preply. So when you're done with the intro video and the TEFL, apply on Preply. When you apply on Preply, you want to upload that free TEFL certificate and any other certificate that you have, even if it's got nothing to do with English. So you want to apply that on the platform, and yeah, basically, and then you upload the introduction video as well. So I don't know if I should explain this now, but okay, when you are uploading the introduction video, there are two options. You can do it via Vimeo or YouTube. So I think it's easier when it's YouTube. What you do is you just go on YouTube on your channel. It says manage videos. You upload a video, copy the link from YouTube, paste it on Preply. So it's basically easy. You'll see the instructions. They'll give you the instructions. So after you're done, you wait about 2 weeks maximum to start teaching on Preply. And then, yeah, you start teaching. So when you get on the platform on Preply, they will send you a couple of videos. So these videos are just to teach you overally the platform, how to get into the classroom, where to see the vocabulary, where to see the library, how to do this and that, what to do when a student can't make it for a lesson and things like that. So you have to watch those videos. They are very helpful for you. And once you watch this, after you're done watching the videos, your profile gets active automatically. Your profile is automatically active. Okay, let's move on. Introduction video. Okay, just a few things on what do you say in an introduction video. So I need to emphasize on this. Give value, give value, give value, and then ask for business. Remember, when I mentioned that introduction video, you're marketing yourself. So you're still marketing yourself every single process. Every time you have a lesson, you're marketing. You're an advert. You're a moving billboard. So when you're doing your introduction video, first name only. Mention your name. And another good thing, don't mention the website. For example, if you want to teach on Preply, don't mention anything about Preply, because you want to use that introduction video when you are applying to all the platforms, whichever website you're going to be applying on. So just mention your first name only. Mention your qualifications. Qualification, that's when you mention the TEFL certificate. Experience, if you don't have experience, don't mention anything. Who do you teach? Do you teach kids? Do you teach adults? So I've explained a lot of these things. What do you teach? Exams, business English, or conversational? Okay, so you also need to be specific. What do you teach? Or you can do everything. But I would suggest you do, if you just do exams, just say exams. If it's business English and conversational, you can actually mix those two. Okay? Non-English experience. So let's say, for example, you want to teach business English. You can mention that I have a degree in accounting and I've worked in that industry. Hence, I'm a more competitive teacher when it comes to teaching business English because I've been in that environment for long. And then will you be somebody who can even assist a student with, learning interview stuff like role playing on what to say in an interview, how to do this and that in an interview. So that's also what comprises business English. And then you go to your personality. Why are you the perfect or unique teacher? For example, I am a patient teacher, or I am a bubbly person. That's why I love to teach kids because they've got so much energy. They like to jump around and everything. Or you can say I'm a social person and I love to meet different people. Hence, I will be concentrating more on conversational English, which means you just want to go there to have conversations with people. So let's say your English is not perfect, you feel like your English is not perfect, you would rather decide to start teaching beginners or people on the A1 level. Alright, so next thing we go to your teaching style. According to their preference needs, for example, you can say, I ensure my students are comfortable in my class, I want to make sure they have fun. Basically, you just mention anything that you feel is relevant for your teaching style, and then at the end, always make sure you give an invitation that is asking for business. Like I said, I can't wait to see you in my classroom, or I can't wait to help you reach the English level that you are aiming for. So that's it about the introduction video. So just make sure your background, oh, the other thing, make sure your background is plain, and also make sure when you're taking your video, your phone is on landscape or it's horizontal. If it's not horizontal, they will not accept you because they will just say this teacher doesn't listen to instructions, doesn't read instructions. So make sure your phone is horizontal or it's on landscape when you are applying. Okay. Next up, we have setting the direction of your business. Remember, we said this is a business. You're not just walking into teaching English online as a normal teacher, you're also looking at the business aspect or business side of it. Okay, so we have the business plan, trial lessons and professionalism, pricing, packages and group lessons, and maybe questions and other things. Okay. So when we're talking about a business plan, we're not talking about the 40 pages writing a business plan. We're just talking about a one page or a half page. Okay, what you just want to do is just write a few statements to give you direction on where you're going as far as your business is concerned. So business plan, what are your goals? Are you planning to teach in the long term or are you doing this short term? Are you just teaching online because you want to raise income to invest in a different business or to start something else, or what is your goal? So that's something that you need to take note of, and then set your targets daily, weekly, and monthly. So what happens with a lot of teachers? They don't set. You know, the thing is, we were groomed. The reason why a lot of people want to prefer to go for a job than working for themselves is they don't have a system put in place. They don't know what to do with themselves. Like I see a lot of teachers when they accept it on any platform, they just fold their hands and they just wait for students. Like it's not going to happen. I keep saying this, when you start teaching, when you apply, that's the time for you to like, you're still marketing yourself, you're still advertising yourself. So don't just get there and relax. Plan your way out of things. Plan the next week, the next month. So you're going to set your targets daily, weekly, and monthly. For example, how many students do you want to teach every day? How much income do you want to earn per week or per month? So those are the things that you also need to write down. I will stress on the importance of writing things down because they say if you don't write it, you cannot achieve it. There's no way you're going to achieve something that you don't put on paper. Okay, so your why. Your why is the reasons why you're teaching. The reason why you need to know why you're doing this is because when you're having those down days or when you fail to see what's ahead, the reason why you started teaching is what will push you forward. So let's say, for example, you decided to teach because you just want you to do it short term and you want income to, invest in a different business or something else. So every time you feel like, oh, I'm too tired, oh, I can't get out of bed to teach, if you remember your why, if you remember your targets that I need to make 10,000 this month, that will push you further. So always be specific if you're setting your goals. For example, I want to earn 20,000 this month, or I want to have a website in 3 months, or in 1 year I should be employing somebody. So always walk into it with a business mindset. How are you marketing your business? Keep track of your statistics weekly. So this is what I've been talking about. So statistics are, for example, how many students viewed your profile and how many students booked. If you see the number of views is too much and nobody's booking you, then definitely something is wrong. And it always goes down, most cases, to the introduction video. So what happens with a lot of teachers when I say, please do the introduction video, they just do it because they just want to get it over with. But this introduction video, it's something that is going to stick around with you for the longest time. For as long as you teach, 5 years down the line, their introduction video is what the student is going to see, unless you change it. So if you're doing the introduction video, it has to be perfect. I have emphasized this and I'll keep emphasizing it. Because a lot of teachers, when they get into teaching, they want to come back and say, hey, nothing is happening here. And then when I look at their profile, the video is haphazard. They are not smiling. They're so serious. So it all goes back to introduction video and marketing your business. So I mentioned, stress the importance of who you will teach, because that's what will also shape a lot of things. So for example, if you're teaching kids, your marketing strategy, how do you advertise yourself? You're advertising with a colorful background. Okay. So yeah, I had a student, I had a teacher, not a student, I had a teacher. So she was aiming to appeal to the adults, but when she did her introduction video, it was more on the kids side. So you also have to be careful with that. When you do your introduction video, it has to appeal to the right people that you want to teach. So that's basically, I've explained this, the marketing plan. Yeah, basically competitor analysis. So the thing with, I see again with a lot of teachers, when they are accepted on a platform, they want to charge the highest price more than people who have been on the platform for 10 years. That is not realistic, because you will not get students. So the thing is, when you get on a platform, you don't fold your hands and relax. You want to compete with the people who are currently on the market, the current teachers. So you're going to reduce your price, but you're not going to reduce your price forever. If you start teaching students at $5 today, it doesn't mean you're going to be teaching them at that price in 3 months. So the $5, you're just reducing your price so that you can get students. After a month or so, you can increase the price and say, hey, I need to increase the price. If you had built a relationship with the student, they will not go anywhere. They will stick around with you because they know you're organized and you know what you're doing. So also when you're teaching, be as professional as much as you can. Be as professional as much as you can. Make use of, let's say if you have a lesson, try to put everything into a document like a PDF or something like that. Or just share links of professional websites that have lesson plans. So that's basically it when it comes to business plan. So these are some of the things that you can just look at. So the timeline also has to do with, for example, how long are you planning to be teaching? How long do you want to reach a certain income level? How long do you want to, like, by what date are you supposed to have a website? So also that's part of the business plan. And then, yeah, let's move on. So now we have the trial lesson, or the first lesson with every student. Please never miss a lesson. Rather reschedule. It's better you reschedule 2 minutes before the lesson than having a student come into your classroom and they can't see you or you don't show up. You will definitely be reported, and that is very bad for your profile. In as much as you're working independent, But when it comes to not showing up for lessons, those websites are very strict. You have to attend lesson, or you'd rather send a quick message before the lesson starts and say, I cannot attend, I'm not feeling well, or I have an emergency. Never make the student wait. That is bad for your profile. You will be blocked like for a week or two, depending on how many times you've missed a lesson. So you've got to be careful about that. Focus on relationship building to make sure student books a second lesson with you or buys a package. So I've mentioned this. If you have a relationship with students, in my experience, I have a relationship with students, and I got to a point where I had to raise the price, and we got to have like a normal discussion about what price would be best for them. So I also have a student. She would tell me, "Voila, if you say the price is $10 now, that's what I'm going to pay because you know what you're doing. You are the service provider. So please build relationship with your students, especially adults. They know what they're doing. They're adults. So please treat them as such. Always remember, whatever level, stage, or whatever stage you are still marketing yourself. Always be presentable when you go for the classes. Yeah, always be presentable. Always make laugh and make jokes. Have small talk within the lesson. Always make sure at least 5 minutes. Just spend some time with your student, talking to them. Don't just start and say, "Hey, okay, so today's topic is." No, you've got to have a beat to build. You've got to build a relationship. The same way that when you're buying something and you want to be treated in the same way, in a certain way, is the same way that you must treat your students. Okay, trial lesson determines what you will teach the student going forward. So when you're having a trial lesson, I mentioned that you can have small talk with your student. So when you're having a trial lesson, well, while you're having the small talk, you're also assessing the student's grammar and their pronunciation. And you can even ask the student, hey, what problems have you faced as far as learning English is concerned? And they will give you a hint on the kind of lessons that you can actually start teaching. So you can also, if you don't know what to teach, you can also get an idea from students, depending on what they've learned in the before. So just make sure you keep in touch with your students. They must also decide, because let's say for example, if you have a student and they don't like reading, and then you're trying to force them to read every lesson, you say, oh, let's read, they will run away from you because you do not consider how they want to have lessons. Because even though it's a lesson, it's supposed to be fun. Don't be too strict, like how we were taught in primary and secondary school. Would have this serious looking teacher coming in front of us, and you just have to be like that open-minded, relaxed, comfortable teacher, you know. And then these are questions that you can ask the student in the trial lesson. For example, how long have you been learning English? What problems have you faced or topics that they find hard? And then this will help you to determine which lesson you're going to have in the next lesson. Problems with previous teacher, so that you avoid making the same mistakes. For example, if they were with a teacher who was too serious, then you want to make sure you're not going to be that kind of teacher. Or if you were a teacher who was always like maybe late for a lesson, you want to make sure you are in the lesson on time. And then how many lessons do you want to have per week? This is a question that you need to ask, because it also helps you to determine which students you're going to teach. In my case, if a student comes and they say, I want to just have 1 or 2 lessons per month, I don't really take those students. I prefer to have regular students, and that means I'm going to have few students to teach. I'm not going to have like 10 or more. I have less than 10, and they will be enough for me for the month, because almost every one of them is having a lesson with me every day. So yeah, you also have to ask this question, and how long do they want to have classes? So the learning duration is important, because you will have students who are planning to relocate to another country in 2 months. So if they tell you, I'm going to relocate in 2 months, then it determines how many lessons they're going to have per week. So you're going to suggest like a clash program, like they're going to have a lesson with you every day, or even have 2-hour lessons with you, maybe 1 lesson in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Because I have a student who does 2 hours with me. Every time we have a lesson, it's 2 hours consecutive, no break. Or sometimes she books 2 hours in the morning, two in the evening. So you want to have such students because then it minimizes the number of students that you're going to have overally because they are learning with you for more hours. So also after the trial lesson, just make sure you give a hint of the next lesson. Hey, in the next lesson, we're going to be learning grammar because while I was talking to you, I realized that you need to work on your grammar and your pronunciation. So that's something that you can say. And then send them an assessment report after the lesson. So an assessment report doesn't have to be anything too fancy. You're just mentioning recommendations. For example, I'm recommending you do 5 lessons, you do an hour of lessons every day to improve your lessons. Since you are planning to be learning just for 2 months, I'm sure by the end of the 2 months you will be better prepared to relocate to a different country. And then you also mentioned their problems. Like while we're having the small talk, I realized we need to work on your grammar. So an assessment report is not too much. I've already mentioned a lot when it comes to that. Okay, so let's move on. So now we go to teaching on Preply. So this is the platform that you're going to see when you get on Preply. This helps you to plan your lessons. So you'll see the lesson topic here. So like I said, when you're on Preply, there's a library. So you can pick the library, or sometimes the student will pick the lessons that they want to have. So you'll see it here. And then 5 minutes, sorry, it's a little bit faint, but 5 minutes, you welcome in, greet, and connect with your students. This is important, guys. Every time you start the lesson, don't just rush into it. Hey, today we're learning this. Have a moment with your student. Ask them what they were doing the previous day. Ask them how they are. Ask them, anything interesting they want to share, And you also have to talk about yourself and just create a connection with the student. So when you see here review placement test, so sometimes you get on a platform where a student had to take a test first before they were accepted. So if you're having a trial lesson, you want to open this placement test and just see if they made any mistakes. If your student made any mistakes, if they made any, then you correct them. And then whatever mistakes will be in the placement test can also be used to plan the next lesson. So if they got the opposites wrong or the plurals wrong, then you're going to have to say, we are going to have a lesson on plurals. Okay, discuss goals and start a course. So all these will come from the library. So when you're having a lesson with the students, you're going to type their level here. You're going to type the course or the topic that you want to have. And then in the platform, you also find like live lesson activities or exercises or self-study activities. You can always send them and say, hey, you must do this. And then there's a feedback. Sorry that it's faint. Correct errors and discuss progress. So feedback is basically, let's say for example, you introduce a topic, you do an exercise, now you're correcting them, or you're just motivating them. Like, I like what you're trying. You're better than you were the previous lesson. Always make sure you motivate your students. And then at the end of the lesson, you give them homework, or you also plan the next lesson. So that's something that you can do there. So this is basically the Preply teaching platform. You find the library there, you find the vocabulary. So if a student asks you a word, let's say you're reading an article and the student asks you a word, just say, I'm going to send you the definition of the word in the library. Okay, so it's easy like that. You don't have to worry about. So please always, if a student asks you something and you don't know the answer to it, do not say you know everything. Just say, let me check that real quick. Okay, you want to say that to make sure your student trusts you. Because if you lie to them and then they find out you lied, they're gonna run away from you because you're not honest. So rather be honest. Okay. Now we go to professionalism. I will keep emphasizing you're marketing yourself all the time. Present yourself as a professional from the start. Get digital business cards. It's very easy, guys, to get business cards. You just go on Canva. There's so many apps where you can design a business card. But I need to emphasize you can't just share your business card randomly. You've got to do it in a clever way. You can do it, let's say if you're teaching on Preply and then you're teaching on Zoom, because Preply allows you to have your lessons on Zoom. So yeah, you can also take that avenue. Or when you're sending PDF documents to students when communicating, okay, let me start this. Send PDF documents to students when communicating with branded information inserted. So remember when I talked about the assessment report, now what you're going to do, you're going to put your contact details at the bottom. Let's say, for example, this is you are my student and I'm sending you a document. You see, I've got my website right at the bottom. So this is also something you want to do. You just maybe insert your number and say, email me for emergency. You just put it like light right at the bottom. Okay, so market yourself, the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you present yourself, your whole package for success, your attitude. So I will also emphasize when you have a good relationship with your students, they will give you referrals. They'll say, hey, I've got a cousin who wants to learn English, or I've got a friend. I'll give them the link to your profile. I've had students give me referrals and they just automatically book and tell me, oh, I was given a referral by this person. So it's also good to have a relationship with your students as well. So we go to the pricing strategy, price discrimination, fluctuating your prices. So this is important. If you, especially on Preply, you can fluctuate your, or not just on Preply. Let's say any platform, you can fluctuate your price. For example, when you are busy, you can increase your price to reduce their bookings, or when you're too not busy, you can lower your price to get bookings. So this is another way of differentiating. And then there's competitive pricing. I've mentioned this. Lower your price when your bookings are low, or lower your price when you don't even have any students, and also to compete with the current teachers. So I think this one is quite self-explanatory. And then price discrimination, the same product, different price. So this is an example. Let's say these are your students. One student can be on $3, this one is on 5, this one is on 7, this one is on 10, this one is on 15. So you don't have to charge the same amount to every student. You can change the price individually, and the other students, they won't know that you're charging differently. So it all goes down to the relationship with your students. The longer you have a student, you can actually raise the price. So your price differentiation, based on how long you have been with the student, based on your schedule, raise your price when fully booked to deter students from booking. But what I've seen with this, let's say you're fully booked, like too many people are booking you, and then you increase the price. I've actually had bookings when I've increased my price and I think, nobody's going to book. So yeah, that's something else that's quite interesting. So let's say you are having a lot of bookings and you feel like it's too much. Don't hide your profile. I would suggest you just increase your price. Okay. So when you increase your price, let's say if your current students are on $5 and then you increase your price to 15 because you don't want to get bookings. If a student comes to your profile, they will see the price $15 and they will see maybe 10 lessons booked in the past 24 hours. They will not know that these lessons were booked at $5. So they will book you because they'll say, oh, she knows what she's doing. So that's another advantage of raising your price. Okay. Packages and group lessons. So I will always emphasize. Remember we said you're focusing on having a business, right? So what you want to do is you want to sell those packages. You want to sell packages as opposed to selling one-on-one lessons. So sell packages over hourly lessons, sell packages to students. For example, you can say, hey, if you buy the 10-hour package, I'll give you an extra lesson. But you don't always have to give extra lesson. Just mention other perks or advantages of getting a lesson package. Encourage students to join a class you created, a group class. So group classes are important, especially if you don't have too many hours to teach. You end up teaching 5 people in 1 hour by creating a group class, and then you have the lessons on Zoom. Okay, so after the trial lesson, you want to make sure the students book more lessons or packages. So yeah, you just send them a message and okay, so not really a message. If you can design a little flyer, I'll always mention this because it has to do with professionalism. So imagine there are two teachers. One teacher sends them and say, like, they just sent a message and say, hey, if you book a 10-hour package, I'll give you an extra lesson. And then there's you send a flyer with a couple of packages, five lesson package, 10 lesson package, 15 lesson package, and then you mentioning the benefits underneath. That makes you a differentiated teacher. They will choose you because you're a bit organized, you take time to design flyers. So guys, just take note of that. And then when it comes to advertising group lessons, you want to mention these advantages to students. For example, okay, let's say you're sending a message to a student, hi, I am suggesting you join a group lesson. The advantages of this group lesson is that you will learn to understand different accents. So whenever you decide to travel, you won't have problems understanding accents because you are in a group class and you learn people from all over the country. You can meet different people from different countries, increases their confidence as well, talking to other people. Get study buddies, they can get study buddies and they can communicate whenever you're not teaching. And then tell them you can have camera on or off. So for those shy students, you can just tell them to have camera on or off. And the advantage is to you as a teacher, teaching group lessons reduces teaching time and you earn more per hour. So this thing of earning more per hour applies mostly to teachers who, let's say you're teaching on $3, like a very low amount. If you take all those lower priced students and put them in a group, you end up getting paid more per hour. So that is a trick with having group lessons and how to deal with a website which charges less per hour. You just have to make sure you know how to create group classes and have group lessons on Zoom. Okay guys, so just a few things to remember before I finish. Follow up with your students after trial lesson or before they book. Always follow up. Always follow up. Always be quick to respond to messages because it overly affects your profile. Respond to messages fast because it's good for your statistics. Always ask students how they prefer to have lessons, please. Because a student is coming, you know what they always say, customer is king. The lessons are not about you as a teacher, the lessons are all about the student. Make them learn in a fun way, make them learn in a way that feels comfortable for them. Make them, be that student who is dying to have a lesson with you because they know you're fun, you prioritize them. Tell them to, hey, you can have a coffee during the lesson, you can take a break. Let me know if you want to take a quick break, okay? Be comfortable with them, let them be themselves. And then sometimes you find that the student can get a little bit tired or they're yawning and everything. So you can just use games when you sense the student is getting tired. So that's another way to deal with that. So yeah, you can use games, you can have debates, you can have discussions, you can have all kinds of things. So guys, just be creative. When you're teaching, you are not opening a book all the time. You just have to be that interesting teacher. You don't need to go through the hassle of, um, designing a lesson for every student. Imagine you've got 10 lessons in a day, you'll be worn out. So you need to make use of websites, free websites with lesson plans. That's all you need to do. Just send the link. Okay, today's lesson is on this link. Please open it. We're going to do an exercise about it, and I'm going to ask you to give me a summary of the article that we're going to read. So that's also how you deal with students. Okay, so basically that's it, guys. This is the end, and thank you and all the best with your teaching business. It was nice sharing this information with you, and I hope that you make use of it. You can always come back if you find info. If you need help, you can always reach out to me. So if you want, that will be like more of a one-on-one coaching session. It's paid for though; it's no longer free. So, but I mean, you don't really need the one-on-one coaching. If anyone, you can use all this information I've put in this masterclass. So, guys, all the best with your business. Yeah, if you need to ask me anything, feel free. My information is there. Okay, guys, bye.